Jon Bessette is here with us now. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Now, I'll just introduce you. You are the lead singer and lead guitarist of the American rock band Fixed Fate, based
Yes.
in Lake George in New York.
Oh yeah.
And you've got this latest album released together called,
hmm
I'm going to try and say it, but it's a word I've never seen before, Icarus,
Oh,
perhaps.
it's that was close. It's Icarus.
Ah.
It's named after it's a Greek mythological story about
Mm.
there's this famous inventor called Daedalus who makes these wings out of wax and feathers, and
Yeah.
essentially they're trying to escape this island, and he flies off, and his father tells him not to go up too close to the sun because the wax isn't fully dried yet and they'll melt it.
Mhm.
So he decides immediately, I'm just going to go all the way up, and his wings melt, and then he goes back down to the water, and it doesn't work out well for him. Essentially, he falls out of the sky from ignoring what he was told.
Yeah. So why on earth did you decide to call the album that? Is there a particular message that aligns with that
Um,
story?
yeah, it's sort of about. I mean, it's a combo of the fact that it's so he swoops down, goes up, and it's sort of the two extremes. You can
Mm.
either fly a middle path and be fine, like you were supposed
Yeah.
to, or you go super low, super high.
Yeah.
The extremes of that, I guess, is part of what drew me into it. And then if you ignore the warnings, you end up falling out of the sky. Um,
Yeah.
and I tried to not design, but order the tracks in a way that sort of
Mm.
followed that. This might sound
Mm.
wishy-washy, but if it makes sense, then I guess I'm doing something
Yeah.
right. But I tried to, like, the opening track is kind of heavy, and then
Mm.
it's only 7 tracks, but
Mm.
the opening track is heavy, and then it progressively gets softer from tracks 2, 3, and 4, and then
Ah.
5, 6, and 7 get heavier again. So I tried to have it essentially
Ooh.
do, like a like a swoop
Yeah.
in its energy, and it
Yeah.
deals a lot with I guess conflict in twos would be the way to put it, where like the
Mm.
first few songs on the record sort of deal with conflict with friends or just people in your life. And then the middle of the record is
Yeah.
sort of focused on conflict in relationships. And it ultimately ends with conflict with your inner self and
Yeah.
facing up against the things that you need to change.
Yeah. And the fact that the album sort of flows rather than alternating between hard and not so hard, did
Hmm.
you kind of plan that from when you started writing the songs, or did you just come up with that later and decide to put them in that order after writing and recording?
A little bit of both.
Mm.
Some of the tracks were actually left over from writing in my first album that I
Yeah.
did, A Year in the North, because they were both recorded within like 6 months of each other. So it was
Yeah.
I just had a lot of stuff written, and then I initially actually it was going to just be an acoustic EP I was going to put out, and
Mm.
I started doing one of the songs, track 6, the Tar Pit, and we threw in like this thing called a theremin, which is
Yeah.
just a wire. You ever see those science fiction things where it goes like woo, and like the
Yeah.
closer you get to it, it does that weird
Mm.
effect. But at any rate, it sort of got away from us as we started adding in a bunch of crazy extra sounds and electric
Mm.
guitars and all kinds of stuff, and it morphed into what if we just do a full record instead. And
Yeah.
eventually there's a lot in there that was unintentional, I guess, with how it
Mm.
fit into the theme, but I think I generally went into it with a thought of what if we try to follow the energy of if it would, a certain flight path, if that's
Yeah.
how you'd go with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how do you actually play a theremin? Because it all looks like complete nonsense and
Oh, it
really
practically is.
complicated. Yeah.
It so the way that it works, I mean, I have a real cheap one that I got for like $100 on Amazon, but you
Yeah.
turn your power knob on and it sets it to a certain frequency, and it's literally just an antenna coming out of a box. So let's
Yeah.
say this is your antenna right here. If my hand or a guitar neck or whatever it is, just some kind of object is over here, it gives
Yeah.
you sort of a low frequency, like a low whooshing noise, and then as you get closer here, the pitch gets higher. So you literally just, when you go like this, you're changing the frequencies, so you can kind of slowly bring it away. It does this descending sound, or you can do like weird shaky stuff. It's
Yeah.
kind of a goofy instrument, but you can get some evil sounding stuff with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's for more experimental things. I don't know if it's been used in a conventional pop song quite yet, but I don't know, maybe it has.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah. So, how did you first get the idea to work on this album then?
I should probably give my credits now. Shout out to Kelly Kintner down in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Ooh.
He used to live right up the road from me, and I met him after a show I had been playing, and he liked some of the songs I was doing and was glad that I was playing original stuff. So he asked me to come in and record. And so we did a year in the North, which was kind of intense because it was like 14 days of just go in every day, record as like a song a day as much as possible. And it was it was the middle of winter. So we had to, like, I was trying to play guitar solos and my hand was like locking up because he had, you know, the place we were recording in, we had to open the stove just to heat the place. But I eventually wanted to, like I said, it was originally going to be an acoustic EP. So I went in and just wanted to throw something in there and, you know, kind of do at least maybe a yearly album release or maybe bi-yearly, something to just, I always have so many songs written that it's nice to get in and start recording while I had the advantage. So I met up with Kelly and he produced it, and then I had it mixed by a guy in Africa, and it just kind of came together. I guess it was, you know, just a passion project, I guess, that I'm hoping to advance on the momentum of.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you got it mixed by a guy in Africa. Has this last year perhaps made your collaborations maybe open to a lot of people around the world because you would have been working online with people anyway for a lot of the year?
I would say so. It's definitely part that, because obviously, especially last year, everybody was just home. Yeah. It was also a mix for me where how do I word this? I'm starting to realize that I can use the internet to find better people than my friends to do things. Like, you know, I'm being facetious, but like if I could pay somebody professional money to send it out to a real studio to mix and master it, it'd be better than me trying to do it myself on GarageBand.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's always great to have a professional involved.
Yeah, definitely helped. I mean, you can hear it too from album 1 to album 2. Especially, I literally recorded I did an Unplugged EP in 2016. I literally took an acoustic guitar and recorded directly into GarageBand. And that was the whole thing. I tried to mix it myself, and I like the songs, but the sound is what it is, and it's what it is not that great. But there's a huge jump in sound quality from record 1 to record 2, just because I don't know what they do. I wish I could teach myself and figure out what knobs these people are twiddling to make this sound so much better than what it was.
Yeah, that's insane. And when did you start this? Because has this album been affected much by COVID, or did you start it before the pandemic, or how has it all worked in these times?
Well, it was, like I said, it was recorded pretty much not together, but within a really short span of the first record. Yeah. So I went in and did that one, the first one, in the winter of 18 into winter of 19, like, you know, December, January. And then I went back 5-6 months later, like May, June, and recorded that whole summer doing the second record. So that was actually done in 2019. Wow. And I sat on it for a year because this is one of my, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but one of my biggest issues that I have as far as what I would change about the music is I don't have a drummer. I record everything myself. I do all the lyrics and the bass and the lead guitars and all that. And then I don't know how to play drums, and I also don't know how to record them. So these 2 records don't have any drums on them. And so for literally a year, I was sitting on this record trying to essentially figure out if there was going to be a way that I could have somebody record drums over it and do something and mix it properly. I had a person mixing it before that. The deadline got pushed back at least 6 times. So eventually it was like, you know what, let's see what Google has to say for when we're going to send this out. And there, I would say it wasn't so much COVID and the lockdowns and everything that pushed it off as much as just a little hesitation from me to finally say this is the finished product, and some production delays that ultimately were solved by, Google searching mixing and mastering professionals.
Yeah. So I take it you hired a drummer from the online world in the end.
I tried to. I made two mistakes. One, I tried to go cheap,
Yeah.
and that gets you what it gets you. And the other problem that I have is when I record the way that I do it, I don't really record to a metronome or anything like that. I kind of I know I write the song in advance, so I know what it's going to be. And then I'll sit there with an acoustic or an electric guitar or a bass, and whichever one I think is going to be a solid, I call it a skeleton, where you play all the way through in that one and then stack everything else on top of it. So it's not really recorded, I don't want to say in time, because it's played to what I'm trying to make it, but it's not something where a drummer can sit down with like a click track in their ear and like, okay, this is the part where it's 4/4 and then it switches over here. So I tried to get somebody to come in, and there'd be like little transitions in the speed that I'm strumming on the guitar, and all of a sudden the drums are just like getting a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more out of rhythm, and it just derailed the whole momentum of where the rhythm was supposed to be building to, and that's not even so much the drummer's fault as much as just, I just didn't record it, correctly, I guess, if that's the right word.
Yeah. And it's difficult to tell, I suppose, if you record something without drums, whether drums will actually improve it. It might be better without them after all. Yeah,
I would say so. That's definitely something that frustrates me too, is the fact that basically to the same point that you're making, is if there's songs that don't necessarily get made better by drums, there's some where they almost define the mood or the energy of where it's going. Like you could have a riff going a certain speed and then it'll kick into something else. And depending on the type of rhythm that the drummer decides to go with along with it, it can almost set the whole heaviness or melodic quality of what's going on around it.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that it's a piece that I'm missing, but that's a lot. I have like 40 new songs already written, so I'm hoping to get a drummer involved on this next one.
Yeah. And how has COVID affected your music overall? Have you kind of previously done live gigs that have been cut back in this last year?
I don't know if I can take credit for this, but I was a little bit ahead of the curve on the live streams, because I used to do, I've been doing Facebook live streams since I think 2016, which I know I'm not saying people did that before. Like I was the first one to do that. Obviously they invented the thing because people were doing it, but it obviously became a staple in 2020, early 2021.
Yeah.
So luckily I sort of had a built-in audience a little bit with it. I'm not a huge audience or anything, but it was the fact that it wasn't this random thing I was trying to start up. And I definitely, some shows got, cut back because bars for a long time weren't even open. But I don't really think I lost any momentum as far like from even playing live for the number of shows I was doing. I was also going to school, so it was pretty easy to. I didn't go to school at the end of it when they shut everything down, but right up until that, I was sort of in an environment where it wasn't that difficult to be around musical things happening, even though there wasn't necessarily like big gatherings going on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel the same way that you do about the live streams, because there were lots of people that were working from home anyway, and then last year loads of other people joined them. Yeah,
definitely. It became a huge thing. That's definitely something I want to try and upgrade more over time. I actually bought new microphones and stuff to get good audio quality, but there's some of those guys were getting really inventive with it. They would do like I don't know what the Adobe program is called, but whichever one gives you like effects in the background and stuff. It's almost, it's not Photoshop, but it's a Premiere, maybe, it doesn't matter. But they'll do like, it's almost like they're doing a music video with their live stream. Like, it's professional audio quality and the video is really solid. It's definitely something that's I don't want to say completely the wave of the future, but if you do it right, it's definitely potential to bring in a lot of new audience.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the live stream experience for the fans? Because I've asked people before, and it's kind of 50-50 what people think. Some are like, it's not the same as actually being there, and others are like, well, we have to do something if we're locked down to keep us entertained. So do you feel that it's still a great experience for fans to watch their favourite musician, even if they're not there in person?
Well, I mean, I guess I would agree with both of those. I mean, I would definitely go to a concert hands down before watching a live stream if I had the option to do both. But I think it also probably depends on how well you do it. Like, I know Metallica is an example. They were doing Metallica Mondays, and that was really successful. But they also were kind of doing a twist on it, where sometimes it was old shows, or they would do like a random acoustic version of something, where because it's this stripped back setting, you can kind of experiment a little bit with what you're going to do. Not that you can't do that on stage, but it's just something different. So I don't think it's something where it's very cut and dry that you should just be doing one or the other. If you play live shows, that's great. You get your fans out there, or there's more people on, I think I said this to another guy in an interview the other week, but there's more people on Facebook, dead people on Facebook today than there were on planet Earth in the 1800s. So there's a decent chance to find a new fan base, if you really make a professional product.
Yeah, that's for sure. So let's just go right back to the start at this point. And how did you first get into music when you were younger?
God, I go probably all the way back to when I was a baby. This is going to sound like an exaggeration, but my dad pumped me full of that as a kid. I got put to sleep in the cradle as a baby with like thrash metal and stuff like that. Which is probably why I'm so wacky now. But I just grew up with it the whole time. Like, I have memories all the way back to preschool. I was 4 years old, or 3, whatever I was, hitting a xylophone, like trying to get the other preschoolers around me to like start a band. and I'm just sitting there like hitting the xylophone with no idea what to do. Like, wow, this does not sound like the albums I hear in my dad's truck. This is bad. Like, I gotta practice. So it's definitely always, I guess, just been in me. I would just say I got lucky and just kind of found one of the passions that I want to pursue at a really young age.
Yeah, absolutely. Music is something that I think is in a lot of people's lives, especially when they're growing up. It's all around them. What sort of person do you think it takes to actually pursue music rather than just listening and enjoying it?
Well, they got to be a mix of stubborn, a little naive, and a little bit crazy, probably. And very lucky if they actually manage to get any level of success. It's definitely all types of people, because you can get people like me where I know I'm trying to play 5 different instruments to get an album out there, and it's about the sonic textures and the emotions that I get out of the stuff that I'm physically creating. Whereas you can have someone else that has that exact same level of passion, but they're sitting there plugging away with knobs on a MIDI keyboard, and they just want to make something that makes people move. It's hard to, I guess, define what would make people want to pursue it. I would think it's a mix of just really feeling it and somehow convincing yourself that you can do it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, do you have any more songs and albums on the way that you're thinking of releasing soon or in the next few years?
So I have been writing. I've been planning on doing a piano EP, like 3-4 songs for a good year and a half now. That just actually that kind of got put on the back burner because of COVID. Because I haven't really even had access to a full piano to record. But so that'll be out at some point. I think I'm going to call that one Black and White. Super creative, inventive name. But I got to decide how I'm going to do releases for this next one, because I have like I said, I think I'm up to like 40 songs now that are almost done being written.
Wow.
So I'm probably just going to go into a studio, record as many of them as I can, and either release a double album with a bunch of songs, or I've even thought about doing something where I just keep writing and I'll have something ridiculous like 100, 200 songs that are fully done. And with the sites that you use now to put stuff online, like Spotify, you can schedule it like very far in advance. So I could, let's say I recorded 100 songs and broke them up, into 10 song albums, I could have something released in 2045 that just because, I could be dead and just have albums coming out in the year 2200 just because, if the internet still exists.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you died like 50 years before, people would think his spirit is still alive, he's still releasing music.
Yeah, they have like this, you get like a call following something, like he's gonna come out with another one. We're looking for the signals in the songs. Give him like Easter eggs or something for when the next one's gonna come out.
Yeah, just release loads of songs called like "I'm Alive,"
still kicking.
Yeah. Well, where are we able to check out all the music that you have released so far?
Best place I would say is Spotify. If you don't have that, I mean, if you just type in Fixed Fate, it should come up. I think Icarus is the suggested recommended track or album. It's on all streaming platforms. So, I mean, even if you're trying to get it for free, I know that I use DistroKid. They're just a good aggregator that puts it on all, geez, I'm getting tongue twisted here, on all the websites. And I mean, you can go to YouTube too. I haven't really pushed YouTube just for whatever reason. I just never really took the time to go on there. So I would recommend Spotify, Apple Music, if you're a Tidal user, the 12 people that use that.
Yeah. And are you yourself or the band on any kind of social media or have a website where we can find you?
Yeah. Well, there's fixedfate.com. That's just sort of a general landing page that I really want to get a new website built, but that'll be down the road. I'll get sweatshirts made and whatnot. But to actually answer your question, there's fixedfate.com. And if you, for some reason, feel that I was interesting enough to add me on Facebook, I do live streams there, but it's just Jon Bessette, and it should come up.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been great having you here.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It was fun.